Hello, once again, fighting the chair. Oh, I have a director's chair. I'm going to try that. I just have to get it. Anyway. Hi, what's up? Here comes the weekend. I'm going to the movies. How about you? Hi, Kendra. Get my, so I can see. Wait. There. And then, yeah, turn off my mail because that's going to really be distracting. I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry. Something about this. I don't know. Frame your shot. Frame your shot. Yeah, I can feel the chair like, hi, guy. Screw this. I'm going to stand. How about that? Because it's, here I am. Because I anyway, what's up? Hey, Maurice, nice to see you. So today, it's Friday. And at this point, I think if you're brand new, do we know the difference between gatekeepers and screen readers? I know I say it quite a bit. So we have a lot of free ways. I'm just going to go really fast. Okay, that would be really funny. Hi, Cindy, screen reader, yay. So we have, you can learn for free by being in here. We do weekly trainings. Normally this week we're doing daily trainings because enrollment is currently open. So we do daily trainings when enrollment's open, and then we do weekly trainings the rest of the time. We give away free handouts in our email list. Join the Facebook group. Doug, don't forget to share. So those are all, we give away handouts. We do all kinds of downloads. Like, we give away a lot of free stuff. We have workshops periodically throughout the year where we do these online workshops. Our last live online workshop is tomorrow, right? Yeah, it's so exciting. So we do those, and then in there we give you really all the tools you need to get started, and we tell you what you need to know so that you can start taking notes and figuring out, filling in the gaps. And then we also have an enrollment to a paid option if you want to take a course. So totally up to you. We don't care which way you go, but when you hear me refer to screen readers, those are people that are in the paid course. And then you'll hear me refer to things that we teach in there because it helps me pull from there to teach in here. So, or teach, I don't like teach, share, because it's just sharing my experiences. Teach you. You're a grown adult. You can figure it out. So there you have it. So today, I also happen to have a degree in drama. My father was my high school drama teacher. He's still very active. He's 91 and kicking it up and has a very young wife, and he's like smoking still. So he was my high school drama teacher. He also was he directed at big theaters like Civic Light Opera and stuff, big time director, like, stage, all stage. So I grew up in theater and then was a drama major in college. And so it's kind of cool because I can apply. Also, I'm the CEO of a theater company in Hollywood. So I can apply all of the things that I'm learning and, constantly doing there to here. So we had Mallory. I was doing take 5 where I was answering 5 questions, but I realized I was kind of all over the map doing that. So decided to start theming it to make it a little bit easier. And then that way too, you can search. And so in the little search bar in the Facebook group and in Facebook page, you can search topics, and then it will pull up the different videos of things you might want to learn. So that's a good way to kind of systematically learn stuff if you'd like to do it that way. So Mallory asked, will this help to get auditions? So that made me think, you know what, let's just do acting today. So that kind of sparked me into that because there's so many different things you can. Doug is a giver. Howdy. Jessica, now you're my howdy. You're my howdy partner. Like, that's going to be a thing now for sure. She was in the workshop and she said howdy, and I was like, howdy, kind of at the end. Anyway. Woo. So, and now she's a screen reader and she's smoking it already. Like, woo, she's active. It's awesome. So there you have it. So let's talk about acting because it's all about acting. Acting is such a great, if you have a child that wants to be an actor, it's such a great skill to learn in life. Like, it really is. I mean, people say, oh, when are you going to get a real job? And that's exactly how I say it. When are you going to get a real job? Hey, Peggy, another screen reader. Hey, hi, Sean. What's up? Good to see you. You're a screen reader, a new screen reader. We got all these newbies. I'm kind of starting to learn everybody. Makes me very happy. So acting is an amazing skill to have in business. It's an amazing skill. It teaches you to put your, someone else's shoes on. How does that work? Teaches you to think about how other people are and live and feel. It makes you start studying people and understanding relationships. It makes you understand your own emotions. It's an amazing tool to have in your arsenal. I think everyone should take at least an acting class to see what that's like, because there's something sort of magical and very you become very very self-aware. I always thought that emoji was like, and then my son was like, no, Mom. He always says, Mom. No, that means like, to me, it's happy. Anyway, but it's just an amazing skill, and it's an amazing thing to experience. And so having that, I think everyone should take an acting class, because being able to step in someone else's shoes is so important in life. So anywho, that's my tangent about acting. So in terms of reading and acting, one of the beautiful things, if you are an actor and you work as a reader, or even if you're an actor-writer, and like I always say, if you are a reader, you are a writer. But if you write screenplays, if you take a hand at acting, you will have an understanding of character that's totally different than if you're, only focusing on writing. And we think it's so important that we actually, we dedicate an entire phase in our course to the acting process and what an actor goes through, what it's like to go through auditions, what it's casting, what do people look for, all of that. And so today I just wanted to talk a little bit about, as a writer and as a reader, how the acting thing fits in. So if you are a writer, if you're reading scripts, you are going to start to see a character arc. You're going to be able to kind of identify that easily. You're going to see when a character steps into a film and does not have a good backstory. You're going to see when people are cliche, and you're going to start to see it and unfortunately, you're going to see it in movies, and it's going to be pretty bad. And so another thing we harp on a lot is our don't be that guy for your family. Like, once you start really looking at films, you're going to start being the person that everybody hates, where it's like, I'm terrible. And my family actually, well, they're just as bad. So we all kind of bond because of it. But, I love Hot Shots, one of my favorite movies. And actually we have a guest producer coming in that's worked on Airplane and Hot Shots. So excited. But the dead meat, the guy walking around with the dead meat sign, just like I used to makes me howl. It's like that thing about movies, and Hot Shots is such a great comment. And honestly, one of my favorite films is Tropic Thunder, because of the way Ben Stiller was raised in movies. So he has no filter, and there's no magic about it to him. So he's able to comment on it in such a beautiful way, because he's just grown up in it. So it doesn't have that same kind of thing that other people do, other people have in their films. So as when you kind of are raised in it, and when you start doing this, you're going to start seeing these things in movies, and you're just movies will become far more predictable. So it does take away some of the things. Well, it depends on how you look at it. It takes it away, or to me, it adds to it, because it means, I often watch a movie and see the page, like a lot of the time. And I constantly say the line right before someone says it, because there's the whole thing of like, I was just finally watching, I've never seen Lord of the Rings, finally watching that. And, he had a moment where he was like, something like, I don't remember what the line was, but it's something like, yes, I do. And then the character walks away, and I went, yes, I do. And then he goes, yes, I do. Like, they say it twice just to get the point home. And so that's a big one. That's a very common, character tool or whatever. But you'll start doing that. Whether that's, to me, it makes it more fun in a way. I just can't do it around certain people. So I'm going to movies this afternoon with a friend, and she hates it when I do that. So she's always like, right before we go in, do not ruin this movie for me. You need to behave. So I'm always like, so it is, and you can't even go, none of that. So that is something you'll have to learn. But then, as an actor, though, you will really, really Peggy makes me laugh out loud on a regular basis. I find that when I'm writing letters now, yes, I still write letters, scruffles, I want to draw emojis, because I love emojis, because I'm sort of over the top. Anyway, Kendra, right? I'm sure he's terrible. We're terrible together. Don't even oh yeah, we're terrible when we talk about movies. So anyway, so that it will kind of, you know, whether you want to look at it as being, I don't really call it jaded, you're just more informed. So, but as an actor, being able to see, when you're reading scripts, you'll start to see character development in a whole new way. So, and as a writer, it's knowing acting as a writer. It's just, you know, Quentin Tarantino is is a terrible actor in my opinion, but I think it informs his writing in a major way. He writes really rich characters. So there's certain writers that are known. There's a phrase called an actor's writer, and Sorkin, Tarantino, Mamet, Nora Ephron. These are writers that are considered actors' writers. And what else are they kind of known for? Their dialogue skills. Those often go hand in hand because actors want to speak. That's why Shakespeare, you know, they want something they can sink their teeth into. They want that thing. So as a writer, when you're writing and you're writing these characters, you do need to think about, you know, who you can even cast it in your brain. I mean, casting is one of the most fun parts of it. But you can, was that good grammar? But they want a character that's developed. They want a character that has interesting things to say. They want, or not, you know, that there's an interesting subtext. Subtext is a whole nother thing of what is a character actually thinking while they're talking. They're talking about salad. They're thinking that they're going to kill themselves. I mean, it's so important. And being an actor's writer is a huge understanding of subtext, a huge understanding of a character's backstory. Actors usually, if you know, at least when they're first starting out, some actors start to do it naturally the more that they work, but they figure out, they know when they step into a scene, they know where they were before they stepped into that scene. They know where they're coming from. When they're leaving a scene, they know where they're headed. Even if it's not in the script, they make that up so that they're coming into the scene informed, just like you do in life. When you walk in, you're carrying with you whatever just happened to you. And so they know to do that. That's another thing. If you have that intention as you write, you don't need to lay it out. But if you give the characters these little tidbits of stuff where they come in out of breath, or they come in, you know, they're entering in a different way, there's just all these little tiny things that really make a huge difference. And when you're reading and you see that kind of stuff, you start to go, oh, this person really is, there's depth. A lot of people don't identify it as such. All they see is that it's good. They don't see that that's what's happening. And I'll never forget watching Rain Man and being in a movie theater. And there's a scene where he lets Dustin Hoffman drive the car, and the music swells and it's beautifully shot. They're shooting it through a fountain. So you see the water and you see the car, the water's, you know, spraying up, beautiful, reflecting all this light. You see them driving the car through the water. You hear them laughing and they're like, you know, it's like it's the kind of representing all this freedom suddenly that all these characters are feeling. And the person behind me said, this is such a good movie. I was thinking in my head, what a great shot. And what a great moment. And the person behind me is going, this is such a good movie. And I was just like, oh, there it is right there. People don't get what happened to create that moment. They just get that it was good. So as a writer, if you are writing for your actors, your script is going to be a bajillion times better. I mean, a bajillion, more than a bajillion. So, and the other thing as a writer and as a reader that you want to look for as someone who's writing good characters is that you are trusting your actors. I can't harp on this enough. I can't stand it. And maybe it's because I can't stand it. What's that from? And I can't stand him. What do you think I am? Dumb or something? Sorry, check yeah, oh, totally. Yeah, so there's some great subtext in Crash. And actually, Paul Haggis, who wrote Crash, yes, just a bit. He actually, you know, he talked about subtext, and he talks about a scene in when he came and talked to our students. And so we have guests that come in to the screenwriters program and talk. And Paul Haggis was one of them. And he talked about subtext, and he talked about how everyone wanted to cut the scene in $1 Million Baby where they're talking about socks, because they're talking about socks, but they're not talking about socks at all. And so he was like, no, I don't want to cut that scene. And so then and he wanted to direct it originally, and then someone talked him into allowing Clint Eastwood to direct it. And so then when he was talking to Clint Eastwood, and good old Clint said, you know, everyone's saying I should cut the sock scene. And he was like, no, don't cut that scene. That scene is everything. And so he got it, you know, and and I think in part because he's an actor. So when I think that it's really hard. I don't know how people direct themselves. I clearly suck at it. But it's like, you know, when you have an actor that's a director, they're going to make, I believe sometimes they make more informed decisions. And a lot of, I think many actors are better directors in some regards. Like, I think that's true of Quentin Tarantino. I think I've seen his films that he's directed himself and films that other people have directed him. I think he directs his own work far better than other people direct his work. I think he's an actor, so he understands the process. So he's able to get across to his actors, like, how to get it across. Like, I think that acting skill is huge. It's huge. And so you often see actors act for a while and then they start moving behind the camera because they start realizing they get involved in the process. So, and one of the huge things, and I have a friend who's an Oscar-winning actor, and he said that people, you know, directors who don't act often say to him, "Can you just do it like this?" And it's always terrible because they're not actors. And now he's at a level where he can go, "No, I'm not doing that. My job is to decide how to do it. That's my job. So you need to trust me." And going in as a writer, or if you direct or producer, and trusting those actors is so important. That's their job. They breathe it. They, more than anyone I know, actors that are committed to their craft are more committed than any other person I've ever seen. Like, well, no, ballet dancers smoke everyone, or Olympic athletes. There's a level of commitment there that's psychotic, but an actor's right in there. So because actors, like, they're constantly, there's a movie, shoot, it's so great with Tia Leone, and I think it might be Marie Forleo. I'm not Marie Forleo. It's definitely not her. Maria Bello. I get those two confused sometimes when I'm looking back. But it's a great movie about the acting process. And they have a scene where the two friends that are actors are trying to see who can cry first. And, you know, that is spot on, man. Actors are constantly doing that kind of thing where they're just playing with emotions and drawing from, you know, they'll be in, you know, in this emotional, real moment in their life. And then they'll be like, "Oh, wow, I could really use this." Like, there's always this sort of third person looking at them. It's a little bit, you know, therapy. They need therapy is the word I'm looking for. But if you go in as a writer and kind of understand that these actors are super committed, like more committed than you can possibly imagine to this craft. So one of the things as a writer is stop giving them line readings. So you are not, unless you're an actor, well, even if you are, if you're an actor, even more so, trust them. So if you have a script and you're constantly, it drives me nuts when I see scripts and they've bolded, "Oh, it's a nice day." You know, they're telling the actor how they want the words to come out of their mouth. "Oh, it's," you know, and it's underlined or bolded, or like giving them a line reading saying, "You need to say this line like this." That's not your job. That's their job to determine how to say the line. And as a matter of fact, they'll probably say it in a better way than what you've come up with. If they're good actors, they'll come up with, and sometimes the second thing about that is Rileys. And if you don't know what a Riley is, what's a Riley? We cover this in great, because it's a big deal. We cover it a lot inside the course. So basically the Riley is the parenthetical. You see the character's name and you see sadly, happily, you know, whatever, you know, telling them how to say the line. If every line has a flippin' Riley, that's why it's known as a Riley, because people are making fun of it. He says Riley. So it's like you're telling that actor, you need to say the line like this. Well, if they say sadly, you know, it's like, come on, really? The person playing the character should know, based on your writing, if it's good, whether or not they're sad. And that they might be really sad, they might be suicidal, and they still say that line in a happy way, which makes it better. Right? Trust them. So those are I get a little bit passionate about it because it really makes a difference, right? Right. And so they don't want an actor, they want a robot. Exactly. That you're taking away the very thing that an actor brings to it, and that's the choice that they make to make it better. And don't take that from them. If you want to be an actor's writer, give them as many tools as you can in terms of their backstory and their relationships, and let people know what they're about. Then they can step on that and ride with it. And so Diablo Cody, she's another one known for her dialogue. She wrote Juno. She's got such an interesting style, and she takes the writers and she starts them in one place, and then they can just fly on top. If you sit there and like try to control your actors, your script's going to stink, and it's going to be cliche. And if you're a reader and you're an actor, Your ability to do coverage is better. Your ability to spot a cliche one-dimensional character is better because you understand the process of creating that character. So I highly recommend, for all of you writers out there especially, to take an acting class or at least read some how to act books, or at least watch, Barry. Although I think there's some cool things in Barry, and I love Henry Winkler in the series Barry, I think, but it's all very tongue-in-cheek. So there are acting classes very similar, but it's a little bit over the top. Of course, it's a series about acting, and they're making fun of that, but it has some really good moments. And actors do, it does have a lot of the, like exercises, trust, the actors do, but it's kind of making fun of it, so it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So some of these, I'm trying to think if there's a better, series that really captures it. But you can also, there's a lot of, interviews with actors, and just kind of be a little more aware of the acting process. And then if you're a reader, understanding that, I don't know that we have Juno, but we can definitely look that up. There's just a lot of ways that you can go, and a lot of, interviews and things that you can watch, so that you can make it all just so much better. If you're a reader, I highly recommend it. If you're a writer, it's a requirement. You need to understand acting to really, really be a really spectacular writer. And even if you're not, you don't want to take a class, because I know writers are extroverted introverts, and so they don't really want to be in front of people. That's why you're writing. But just having an understanding of it, even if you don't want to get up in front of people. But I recommend you do that too, because it can be terrifying. And so it's a really good exercise in kind of letting go. And risk is a whole nother topic that I'd like to do at some point. You know what? I keep saying that kind of thing. Risk. I'll write that down. So let me see. I only put tiny little notes because, because it's an easy topic for me to talk about. But there's two things that I didn't mention. One is that if you are, because the original question was, will this help with auditions? So clearly yes, but also what it will help with is cold readings. So, which is you do cold readings far more than you do monologues at auditions. And so you have to be able to take a script that you've never seen before and read it out loud. And sometimes they'll go, take a minute. So you get a minute to decide 100 things about this. These pretzels are making me thirsty. If you've ever seen that Seinfeld episode, but it's like you get just a few minutes to kind of make some very, you want to try to make some choices that are unique and yet aren't really outrageous. It's such a skill. See, we have smart screeners. What Peggy says, exactly. You're not very confident about your writing if you need to put what they're going to say. You need to put Riley's in every line. That means you don't think that it's getting across. What you're trying to say is getting across. He's happy right now. Get it? Yeah, it should be a given, right? Should be really. And it's actually, that's one of the things when you're a reader and you've got a ton of scripts to read and you can thumb through or scroll through. And if you see a ton of Riley's, it's like, oh yeah, this script's not going to be very good. Like you immediately judge it on that because it means, oh, this is a young writer or someone who's not very confident. And more often than not, the lines are cliche because they need to tell you how to say it. So that means the line is like, I'm going now. So it's like, he says that angrily, I'm going now. So it's like, because we don't know, because it's not clearly laid out. So that's my soapbox. I knew it would be a soapbox. That's why I didn't make very many notes. So basically it is like about trusting your actors. And so it does help with cold reading. It helps, being a reader helps with acting just in general, and plus not to mention the connections that you make and that kind of thing as just working with people. And then the other thing is that you want to try to allow room and don't be so married to your work that you don't allow room for improv. So we talk a lot about body language. Actually, we do a whole thing on the difference between a character trait and a mannerism. And so, hi, it's Diane, right? What a great name you have. That's awesome. So, because that is something, as a writer, you want to explain, if a character has a mannerism, you want to throw that in there so that helps inform the character. But you also, again, same kind of thing, actors, that's their job. They'll add in kind of mannerisms, they'll add in some character traits, they'll pick things that a character does obsessively that's not in the script, but helps inform what the character is doing, whether they're constantly stand a certain way, whatever, they'll add that in. It's such a fine line to being over the top and being subtle, it's a really, you know, it either really works or it really doesn't. And like, you know, Johnny Depp is sort of a master at adding on physicality to characters. But he also, I mean, he's been playing Jack Sparrow for so long, he's got a certain kind of fluid movement he does. And then if you saw Mordecai, I think the name is, if you like imagine him, when I was watching them, I was like, oh God, if you put a pirate hat on him right now, he's doing Jack Sparrow, but he's not that character. And so it just did not work. And I mean, I think he's brilliant. And I don't know, he just, that movie to me was like, just did not actually got sleep. It did not land. And it didn't, I think it's called Mordecai, didn't do very well. But I think that's partly why. So, you know, an actor, and there's actors that take, hello. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a sec. Jessica. Yes, actors, you have to find subtext because we all have subtext going on. I mean, think about right now, if you're talking, you got a gazillion things, at least I do. I know I have more voices in my head than most people, but there's stuff going on, you know, it's like there's a lot of things that you're aware of. So as an actor, you need to decide what all those things are, what for this character. Are they aware of, you know, are they thinking about their mom, and is this person, you know, what's going on inside their head, their subtext. Exactly. You know, I've actually had the experience, because I'm a playwright, where watching a play that I wrote and being like cracking up and going, oh my God, the things they added. And then I went back and I was like, oh no, that's actually in there. I had totally forgotten that I had put little kind of bits and pieces of slaps. I'm a kind of a slapsticky writer, shocker, right, in there. And so, but they took it to such a different level. It's such a beautiful thing too. If you allow that space, then when you see what you've written, it's just such a magical experience, because it's like, oh my God, look what they're bringing to it. It's really exciting. So, and then Jessica says, I've been taught to keep an action as brief as possible, 2 to 3 sentences if possible. There are people that stick to that, you know, 2 to 3 sentences thing. I think it's more of a flow thing. Oh, I love that. Oh, what monologue was it? Watching Johnny Depp deliver a monologue over and over for hours on set was the highlight of my life. I can imagine. How cool was that? What movie was it? So I think as long as your action is written well, I'm not going to go like, oh, I better not put that last sentence in there because it's not as good as the first, you know, it needs to be good. I think when we put those kind of restraints on ourselves that you can't go over 3 sentences, it can hurt your writing. However, what they're referring to is people that just, you know, like Peggy was saying earlier, that spend 3 pages to describe, you know, this pen, you know, it's like, and you go through doing a reading of your script. And that's another thing for actors. You know, you should definitely do just a live reading, even if it's in your living room, and invite the local community theater kids over and have them read your script out loud. The problems will pop out at you so much better, and you can talk to the actors afterwards to see how it felt, see where it didn't feel real, that kind of thing, and it can really inform and make your script so much better. Oh, that's so great, Sean. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to watch that. I don't know that I've seen that one. Perception is the movie she's talking about. So, yes. Oh, yes. Doug and I did a I still laugh about that. We did a live reading of a script where one of the what kind of started as pretty much a supporting character, and the actor came in and was so hilarious. Like, I knew he was a good actor. It's why, because I have a theater company, so I can pull people's awesome, that they're stellar actors. I wrote a short play, and this is the same script. I mean, so we ended up like adding stuff to him because, oh my God, he made us realize, oh, this character is so much more than what, and that was the thing, is we just put it on the page and let him run with it. And boy, did he. And he was like, I think, and I've seen him do many things, and it was one of the best things I've ever seen him do. It was fantastic. And then that whole screenplay was actually born out of a short play, a little 5-minute piece. And then that has a monologue by a woman that's a little bit nuts. I took that monologue out. I have a book of monologues on Amazon. And so I put it in this book because I wanted to put this book on Amazon. So she did this monologue and she took it to places. And the woman that did it is incredibly beautiful. And so she did this monologue, and the character's really insecure. And so you wouldn't expect someone that looks like her to be this insecure. And she just nailed it. And she's won all kinds of she's won some competitions and stuff with this monologue. So we wrote an entire screenplay based on that character because she informed it. And that's what I mean. It's like when you have an actor that informs something so beautifully, and then this other performance came out of that. The guy that plays, well, it's not even her husband. It's like a super hilarious story. But I mean, right? Those kind of moments are just so amazing. And then that's Doug and I are producing some films, and that's one of them that's in the realm. So it's really fun. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm kind of reading your notes and saying you were. Wait, maybe he might be talking about different. I was talking about Tumas. You might be talking about a different one. So yeah. So do we have that? No, I don't think we have that script in the course. But anyway, but that kind of, if you allow that kind of room, and you need to allow room for improv is another thing. I started to go off on that and then kind of got sidetracked, but allow room for that, and don't get so married to your work that, you actors can't feel free to play. And you don't see the difference between writing for stage and film is that when you write for the stage, every word, like you have to say every word exactly as written. It's a big deal. And writers are really respected and revered, and it's the playwright, and it's a big deal, but you don't make any money. So there's no money in theater. I mean, you have to be really, up there. But in film, you make a ton of money, but they treat you like crap. So basically writers are very, dispensable. People take a script and they fire the writer and get a new writer. Scripts like pass hands like quite a bit. There's like, you'll even watch some credits on the written by stuff, or story by. You see like a bajillion names. So come audition. So it's a great theater company. It focuses on comedy. Shocker, right? But yeah. So it is like being able to give that actor room to play. And in theater, they often do exercises where you improv, you take the characters that you're playing and you improv scenes, and then that informs, kind of what you're doing. And I actually did one play where it was really an outrageous play, and we would improv stuff and then he would write it down. It was like this collaborative thing. It was really fun. And it was actually myself and Patrick Warburton, who's like a comedic genius. And so we would do these like crazy scenes, and then he would write the play, and the play became part of that whole experience. Most people, they either really loved it or they hated it because it was, he was just ahead of his time. It was based on Wall Street and stuff. You see, kind of, it's very much a Seth Rogen-y kind of thing, which at the time was not that popular. Anywho, so if you leave this, hey Maribel, another screen reader, yay! If you leave this room for people, then they can really do great things, and like Dustin Hoffman is, some of these actors that are known for sort of staying in character throughout the run, they end up doing these improvisational moments. Like I'm Walking Here, that was an improv where they didn't have enough money. It was early in his career, so they didn't have enough, not Dustin, but, who directed that film, Scorsese, that they didn't close the street for real. They were actually filming on a live street. And so an actual cab driver almost ran him over. So he pounded on the thing and said, I'm walking here. And that was an improv moment, but he so knew his character that it totally worked, and it's become a famous line. Yippee-ki-yay in Die Hard was an improv moment. So if you have, if you direct films, give your actors room to be able to do that. Let them play. They'll come up with stuff because they're coming from that centered place of what an actor does. And so they'll come up with very real things if you let that happen. So that is my very long-winded soapbox about acting as in terms of reading and writing. So, and as a reader, understanding that concept of actors, especially if you want to read scripts for actors that are looking for projects, you want to be able to see a script and be able to know, is this character developed well? Is this a character that my person I'm reading for would want to play? Like, not just because it's eccentric, you can write an eccentric character that's totally cliche. You want to know that there's depth. You want to know that there's relationships. You want to know. And an actor, Robert Downey Jr. kind of famously said when he read Tropic Thunder, Oscar was not in his brain with that role. And yet he's so brilliant in that movie. So, but what he did see was a really interesting character. And so most, people say, do actors read scripts with Oscars in mind? I really don't think they do. I mean, maybe there are none that I know, but maybe there are people that do, but in general, they read scripts for good characters. And so, and they know, and I've had experiences where actors come off sets of movies that that end up doing really well, where they're like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. They come off a set and they're like, there was just something incredible about that. And they usually stay friends with those people when that kind of magic happens. It's pretty rare, but it's really cool. And as a reader, if you can be involved in that process at all, how cool is that? If you can see, oh, there's something here. There's something really cool here. And that's what we call finding the gem. Even if the script is a mess, if you look at it and go, there's something really cool here. So that is your job. And part of that is understanding the acting process and being able to say, oh, these actors, this is going to be cool if you get the right cast in here. So hope that makes sense. Hope it kind of gives you some insight into the kind of acting process. I mean, I could go on for days. Try to keep these to about half an hour. You don't get too long, but that's kind of the general feel of, I like standing. See, life has a way of showing you how, because I can kind of lean. Life has a way of showing you when you think something's not working, and then you go, oh, something better comes from it. Okay, there's the other lesson for the day. Trust. Trust. It is. Trust your actors and trust that things work out in your favor. So there you have it. So that's it for Friday. Tomorrow, last workshop. It's be. That's what that's just. That's another thing actors do. And actors are fun. They're fun to hang. And the other thing I love about actors, they don't have no bones. You know, like they don't have a no. They don't. You can say no, and they're like, yeah, maybe. I know you meant maybe. No, I meant no. Yeah, so maybe later. Like they can't hear no. No is not a word in their vocabulary because they get no all the time. And so they have to hear no as something else. They have to hear it as not right now, not in this moment, there's something better. Like you have to replace the no because you're constantly being told no as an actor. So that's one of the things I love about actors. There is no no. So yeah, tongue firmly in cheek. Say, but we're glad you're back, Maribel. So there you have it. We will be in the workshop tomorrow. If you have not taken a workshop yet, why? Come in there. It's free. And we also give you, I think there's 4 or 5 free tools, woohoo, so that you can actually kind of get started and figure this out. So we give you all that, and then we tell you exactly what you need to know. And then we tell you a little bit about the course. So we have it all in there, but we really recommend that you come, stay to the end, get every tool that you possibly can, and join the course if you can, because it's really fun and you get lots of good stuff. And we're really working hard to make it cool. So have a good day. I'm going to go see Spike Lee tonight. Excited about that. I'll tell you all about it next time. And we will, adios, muchas gracias. We will talk to you soon. All right, guys, thank you so much. We're having so much fun, and it's because of you. So we will talk to you soon.